Good day, everyone. Today, we're going to learn how to construct completion test type. So, what is a completion test? Completion items are especially useful in assessing mastery of factual information when a specific word or a phrase is important to know. So, when your lesson is about or is requiring the students to master the lesson, completion ties will be very helpful in assessing their ability to master the factual information that you want them to learn. Completion items require the students to answer a question or to finish an incomplete statement by filling in a blank with the correct word or phrase. So filling in the blanks is an example of a completion test. Now, completion items are good for assessing the knowledge levels, recall, and memorization of facts. So this type of test will really generate information about the remembering skill of the students. So you will be able to find out whether they have mastered the essentials for the lesson that you are introducing. And there are advantages and disadvantages when we're going to make use of completion items in assessing the learning of the student. So as to the advantages, this is actually a type of test that is good for who, what, where, when content. So when you have contents like in history, probably in science, naraling panlipunan, you will be or this completion item is appropriate. The good thing about completion items is that it minimizes the guessing of the correct answer because students have to supply the correct response to the question. There are no choices. And this will develop study habits among the students as the completion items would encourage more intensive study as they need to recall, they need to memorize the facts that you would want them to master. It can usually provide an objective measure of student achievement or ability. What about the disadvantages? As to the disadvantages, it's really difficult for the teacher to assess higher levels of learning because the answers to completion items are usually limited to a few words, and that it's difficult to construct so that the desired response is clearly indicated. And well, when you are going to construct this one, you really have to thoroughly think about it so that the desired response would be indicated by the students who will be tested. And this will may overemphasize memorization of facts. So as what I mentioned, this type of test is good for assessing the memorization and recall or the remembering level of lessons of the students. And questions may have more than one correct answer. So you have to be very careful because if the question has more than one answer, then you could probably get partial or you could only get the partial knowledge of the students. And scoring is time consuming for this. Now, what are the guidelines in constructing completion tests? One is that whenever it's a completion test, you only have to omit significant words from the statement. So, for example, every atom has a central blank called a nucleus. Remember that the core there is not a significant word. The significant word is the nucleus. So you put you mute the significant word or omit the significant word, and to make this undesirable statement in completion test desirable, you probably state every atom has a central core called a and blank. Why do we need to put a and? So that students will have no clue whether the word that we're looking for is something that is beginning with a vowel or a consonant. Next rule. Rule number 2. Do not omit many words from the statement that the intended meaning is already lost. And this could be the case of overmutilation. Look at the first or the indesirable statement. The blank were to Egypt as the blank were to Persia and as blank were to the early tribes of Israel. So if you were to improve that, you can simply state that the pharaohs were to Egypt as the blank were to Persia and as blank were to early tribes of Israel. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3. Avoid obvious clues to correct response. So for example, you see here a statement, most of the United States libraries are categorized according to the blank decimal system. So the answer is Dewey Decimal System. Dewey is, we have here obvious clues, decimal system, because that's the only library system which has this word decimal system. So if you were to improve that, you can probably state, which organizational system is used by most of the United States libraries? So you can probably ask them to respond to the question 4. Now, let's move on to rule number 4. Be sure that there is only one correct response. So, for example, here, and these are trees which shed their leaves annually are blank. That's undesirable because there could be many responses. If you are to make it desirable, you can say trees which shed their leaves annually are called blank. Not look for examples, look for the term for those trees which shed their leaves annually. All right, let's move on to rule number 5. Avoid grammatical clues to the correct response. So if the indefinite article is required before a blank, use a or an so that the student doesn't know if the correct answer begins with a vowel or consonant. So for example, a subatomic particle with a negative electric charge is called an blank. So do not put an only because that could be obvious that the answer is electron, an electron. You can, because in the subatomic particle, only electron begins with a vowel. So you can probably make it desirable by stating this way. A subatomic particle with a negative electric charge is called an blank. All right, let's move on to the next rule. Rule number 6. If possible, put the blank at the end of statement rather than at the beginning. So there is a logic here. There has to be question first before the answer. So try to look at this. And blank is the measure of central tendency that is most affected by extremely high or low score. So for desirable, the measure of central tendency that is most affected by extremely high or low scores is the blank. That's how you are going to state it. All right. So those are the guidelines for constructing completion type tests. I hope you learned something so you can produce a completion test that is valid and reliable. Thank you.